Hi everyone, just gonna give people a few minutes to get started, a few minutes to join. Let me see if I can tag everyone and just pull people in. All right, it looks like that comment went through. So hopefully that means that comments are working. Never really know here on Facebook. So today I am gonna be talking about horses as a spirit animal. We'll go through some notes that I have, talk about my own personal experience. I created like a mini altar just for today, something that we can use. And then we have a couple of exercises to work on together. So a little guided meditation, and then also just a little spell that we'll kind of do together. All right. So I'm going to be reading off my notes, but definitely drop your comments in here and I will check them live or on the replay. So qualities and traits of horses as a spirit animal. The first one that you'll hear about like all the time is freedom. So horses, you know, they have a lot of energy. Just kind of envision them maybe like running down a field and just being really free. Other qualities and traits are endurance, power, passion, trusting your path, keep moving forward, and just this overall spirit of movement. If you feel stuck, oftentimes the horse may come and visit you as a spirit guide, and the idea is always just to keep moving. So any movement that you do is going to be really useful as you work with the horse. And that's within your own limitation. So even if you've been like stuck in bed for a week or something, even sitting up, doing some stretches, you know, if you're feeling stuck in your life, maybe trying to go for a run, a hike, things like that, just really getting movement and energy moving. So energy will help you break free from various constraints, limitations. This can be, you know, within your own life or even systems and structures that you live within. Various expectations that other people put on you as well. And it really helps you find the strength in your own self and finding your inner power. Hi, Kelly. So the horse is a very powerful animal, but with that, unfortunately, they also are very subject to abuse. So even though they have this really strong power, this really amazing energy, you often see animal abuse with horses, unfortunately. It's something really throughout history and even into the modern day. There's lots of use cases of this. I do not think that riding a horse is abusive or working with them. They are working animals, but if you're not doing it correctly, then it is abusive. And so we see a lot of that with like carriages in New York City and all kinds of stuff. You know, rodeos, they can be good for the horse, and they oftentimes aren't. And so it's important that you're working with them, or the people working with the horses are doing so in a way that works with their nature, works with their personality, and is not abusive. And I'm bringing this up because I think this is really important as you work with the horse, because they have kind of this unbridled strength even within the abuse. And it's really about finding your own strength and the will to live despite the circumstances. Finding joy where you can, connection where you can, and living in the moment. Even horses that aren't abused, you know, they have really wonderful lives. When they go out with their friends in a paddock, they're running around, they're kicking up their heels. They're just enjoying that moment and really the freedom that they can in that moment. And those are a lot of different qualities that we can look at in our own lives. So horses also have a symbol. They're also a symbol of travel and adventure. Going to new places, exploring all kinds of new things that are new to you. And this can be cultures, different terrain, all kinds of stuff. Just really learning and taking in all the new things as you're traveling. So some other qualities about the horse are aligned to stamina and endurance. So they don't sleep very much. So horses are almost always up and about. They actually sleep about 1 hour per day, and that is not laying down. It's quick moments between eating. They stand still. they have kind of this locking mechanism with their legs, and when they're feeling really relaxed, they might like snooze off for a few minutes and then be alert again a few minutes later. And so this actually accounts to about 1 hour a day. The rest of the time should be grazing, walking around, things like that. So that's a lot of endurance and a lot of stamina. And that's a really amazing quality that you can work with the horse on. They also have a very strong sense of direction. And it's said that a horse will always know its way back home. So if they go out, they escape from the field or whatever, they can always find their way back. So their energy can help you navigate and find where you need to go and find your own path. One way that you can actually practice this while working with the energy of the horse is to turn your GPS off. And there's actually so many studies of this too, that part of our brain is, works best when you're figuring out navigation. And so if you're always using your Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever you use to tell you where to go, you kind of lose that part of your brain. And so try turning it off, especially when you're in like your local area and navigating. You can always turn it back on if you get lost. But yeah, just find your own way and try to navigate that and work with the horse energy to find your own path. And this often helps you find your own purpose. Horses can also guide you on how to avoid danger and overcome various obstacles. Horses seek safety. They seek safety in their community, their herd. They also want both physical and emotional safety. So these are really important qualities that horses look for. Breath work is huge for horses, and it's actually one of their main forms of communication. So whether they're nervous, the first thing that they do is they hold their breath. So they'll be like, they hold their breath, and that allows them to hear better. And then the horses around them pick up on that energy and realize like, oh, we should be attentive for something. And they'll often all hold their breath. When you're working, or I guess horses in general, their whole body, I actually have some little horse right here. So their lungs are about the whole part of their body. It comes up through here and really up until about this part, with their heart is really huge in there too. And so knowing that like their whole body is basically lungs, really kind of makes you realize just how big their lungs are and how much breath work is important for the horse. And they can breathe huge breaths. It's also one of the main reasons why they're good swimmers. I know a lot of horse facts. So horses are related to hippo, and actually their scientific name is like a hippo equus. So that's like the water horse, the hippo, and they're underwater as well and have really big lungs. So there's a lot of genetic correspondence there as well. When you're riding a horse, and not just like on a trail ride, you're just sitting on a horse, but if you're doing this more for sport, you actually will synchronize your breath with your horse's breath, which is a really amazing and beautiful thing. And so you end up doing breath work with the horse, whether you want to or not, because it's natural for them and it's natural for you to just start to get the motion and move together with your breath. And it's pretty cool to be able to do that. So you work through tension in your body, in their body, and also with relaxation through a lot of breath work. Horses are very associated with divination, magic, and clairvoyance. They're often linked with oracles and divinatory work throughout mythology. And also that kind of directional sense, the inner knowingness of being in the right place at the right time. And they are often linked as being able to see magic in humans. So they can see which humans are magical, which, like if they could maybe see a fairy. There's a lot of different stories and myths that have horses in here. Sexuality is also really linked with the horse. If you've ever been around horses, especially male horses, you've probably seen some of their sexual parts that are very large, and it's just kind of part of being around horses. So it's a little bit in your face. Stallions are also like, they have a really, really high sex drive, and it's another really big part of working with horses is you know, most of the time we don't have stallions around because they're very sexually driven and aggressive about it. So almost every male horse that you encounter is going to be a gelding. But if you do work with stallions, you know, that sexual energy is a major part of just their being through that. So some basic qualities that we have with the horse is the element is associated with earth, and they are a year-long season. So a lot of animal spirits will maybe be associated to one season, but theirs is year-long. And then the energy is the heart chakra. And we're gonna go a little bit more into the heart chakra aspect. It's super fascinating. So there's actually been a lot of studies with the heart wave of the horse and humans and different types of heart and brain synchronizations. So they do say that they will synchronize. The heart wave of the horse and the heart wave of the person will synchronize together. And the distance of the waves of the horse's heart are pretty big. I don't have any of those numbers with me, but there are studies that you can look up. And with those numbers being like really big and pushing out, part of it is due to the size of the horse's heart. I have taken horse science classes and seen all their body parts, and their heart is about this big. And yeah, it's a massive organ. That's a dried up horse heart size. And, you know, they're big. They sit in those giant lungs. They power all that blood through so that they can run really fast. And they're truly amazing animals with a lot of this energy and ability to breathe and just power their heart. And so when you're around a horse, your heart rhythm will naturally align to the horse. And the horse has what's called a VLF frequency, or a very low frequency. So it's a lower heartbeat, which is really good for us because it brings down stress. And it can improve our emotional health and our well-being just by being around horses. The heart is connected with our nervous system. It's not part of our nervous system, it's part of our circulatory system, but you know, if we're nervous or something, we get an increased heart rate. So they're very interconnected. Your heart brain sends signals to the brain and affects emotional regulation. And that's kind of the system that works together on that. So when you're interacting with horses, it can lead to lower cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and higher oxytocin, which is the bonding hormone in humans. And it helps facilitate a sense of calm and safeties. So there's a lot of studies that you can check out if that's something that you're interested in. But these studies are the foundational pieces of why horses are often used for various therapies for people with trauma, anxiety, autism, veterans, and others. There's a whole other host of studies for physical things where the movement can help people with physical disorders. That's more for the emotional side. Also for people who are just like overly emotionally sensitive, horses can be very helpful. So this definitely checks out for me. I am like horse obsessed since I was a child. My mother as well, and that's kind of where I got it from. And yeah, I have autism. I'm not really super shy about that, so I have really kind of a lower or higher functioning, I guess is how they say it nowadays. So it doesn't affect me as much as some people, but I do still have it. I'm diagnosed. And yeah, loved horses, always felt like I need to be around them, even for like emotional regulation. So that really checks out. And definitely aligns. It's very common with, it's like a whole stereotype for horses and autism. I guess I fit that one to a T. So that's a big one, but they work with, the horse provides emotional balance, sensitivity, and also can help promote emotional strength. They're really helpful for kids with autism, severe anxiety, and other things where people may just have like a lot of emotions like trauma, things like that. They're really, big for veteran usage as well. I know in our area we have a lot of those. They're very grounding animals, and they can help you get into your body if you're too much in your head. So that's some other qualities that make them really good for therapy. So what happens if a horse like appears to you, maybe in a dream, or just you're seeing the horse symbology everywhere? And this is one of those types of animals that is kind of everywhere, depending on where you live. If you live in the country, you probably see horses like out and about a lot. If you're like in a very equestrian type of area, or just walking around, like you see horse prints. I'm wearing one today. They're common, so it's not like a rare thing to see an image of a horse or even a horse itself. But if you're noticing them a lot, or you're seeing them in kind of unusual ways, that could be a sign. So when they appear, it can be a sign that you may need to work with somebody for a mutually beneficial goal. They are herd animals, so they rely on each other for survival. So that can be a sign that maybe you need to work with other people in your life for something that you're trying to accomplish. They can also be really helpful for group dynamics. So they could be an animal that you can lean on if you're struggling within a group dynamic, because they are herd animals. So one example I saw is if you're feeling like codependent in a group energy, the horse could help you find your independence with a group and kind of find your own voice within that group dynamic. Or, the opposite, if you're too much of a voice in a group, then you can see how to maybe include others and bring them in so that everybody is more equal in the group. And they just allow you to help navigate group settings in a healthier way, and how to work well within a group. Some other things are, just the same qualities, right? So freedom, finding your own power, finding your own path, a new direction. These are all things that horses can help you with. They also have a warrior spirit, and I want to preface this one again, is that horses by nature are not really warriors. The stallions will fight for breeding rights, but they're mostly play fighting. Occasionally they'll get into it, because of whatever reason, but they're not a predator. They're a prey animal. And they're often associated with warriors and fighting, but that is not by the horse's nature. So I think that is something to definitely preface, is that they don't choose to go to war. They don't choose these paths. And so they are able to thrive in that kind of environment, but it's not their nature. And so I think that's something, if you're wanting to work with horses in a warrior spirit, is to think about maybe how you're having to go down this path and protect your loved ones or whatever's going on, versus trying to actually be the aggressor. So I wouldn't say that would be a good path to work with the horse spirit. So just some things to think about there. So we're kind of at a really cool time, because February is the Chinese New Year, and they have their own astrology based on the year. So we will be entering the year of the horse. So the Chinese astrology really has a lot of the same symbology. They're symbols of freedom, and they can, represent the unbridled or unrestrained freedom in the Chinese astrology. It's the 7th zodiacal animal within their system, and people born under the sign are friendly and adventurous, very emotional. They have a strong vitality, drive for freedom, a lot of energy, and can have a lot of success. They're hardworking, independent, enthusiastic, and adventurous. So a lot of those are the same qualities we talked about. So I think that's really cool that there's so much alignment across the board there. Some negative aspects are that people born with the horse sign can be impatient, impulsive, and dislike confinement. And this year specifically, so each of the Chinese years, they have an element that is tied to the animal. So this year is the fire horse, which is known for heightened passion and determination. So that sets the stage for the new year with the Chinese New Year. So those are the main correspondences. I want to talk a little bit about the history of the horse. It's truly interesting. You can go down way deep rabbit holes with any of these topics. You know, there's extremely deep mythology and so much history with the horse. No single animal has contributed more to the spread of civilization and to human development than the horse. I'm not gonna say that's like a subjective fact, like that's just 100% proven across the board. The horse is the animal that's been most tracked through evolution as well. So the evolutionary aspect of the horse is super fascinating. We have prehistoric records of horses, and if you've ever been into like a natural history museum, oftentimes horse fossils are shown. And that's because we have, like, for whatever reason, the most complete records of evolution through the horse. They started as a 3-toed animal that was relatively small, maybe about the size of a medium dog. And then they evolved into what you see as the modern horse today. And yeah, if you've seen that before, maybe drop that in the comments. Let me know if you've seen those before, seen pictures of the prehistoric horses or seen the fossils or displays at various museums. I think that would be cool to see who's seen that before. And actually, I do have some book recs, which I'll show you, but I know one for sure that has the picture of like their toe of the Eohippus. So that is like the foot of the prehistoric horse, like a picture of that in there. All right. Lost myself in my notes. So the horse's spirit embodies basically the concept of evolutionary progression for the sake of adaptation. So they've been, you know, they never went extinct. So they've just evolved over the years to be able to, you know, really thrive. Cool, Kelly. I'm glad that, or you would love to see one. I hope that you can one day. They're pretty cool to see. Horses in mythology and kind of with history as well, they're very associated with both burial rites and birth rites, which I think make them very witchy kind of right off the bat. Most cultures have, I would say maybe even all, I don't know, maybe not every culture, but most cultures have deities or gods that ride horses or pull chariots. And they're often, you know, associated with birth, death, the sun, kind of the morning coming up in the day and then into night. So all of these cycles really are connected to movement of the horse, whether it's being ridden or pulling a chariot. So I've got a few examples, but I'm sure there's a ton more that are out there. So Odin, for instance, he's the Norse god, and he rode an 8-legged steed, which was very much based off of a horse. Many Celtic deities rode horses. Rhiannon had her white stallion, for instance. I personally work with Rhiannon, so this necklace is Rhiannon with her horse. In Hindu, Surya, as a sun god, pulled their chariot with stallions pulling the chariot up to bring the sun up. And there's just infinite examples. So if you want to drop maybe an example of one that you know in the chat, that would be another great way to participate. So going back to just history as a whole, before horses were domesticated, the distances between people and societies were really far. And so early humans didn't really interact much with other groups of humans unless they were really close. And early society, as they domesticated horses, was really how they started to be able to travel. Boats and things, I believe, came after. So being able to travel on sea, but on land for sure, the horse was the main way that people started to get around. They also are foundational in large wars. So that's another big part of the warrior aspect of the horse. Again, not by the horse's nature, but big wars were possible as soon as we started having carts that could pull, major things around and armies and pull the food that would be needed for armies. And then of course, riding the horse. So yeah, just a lot of, for better or worse, movement through history with the horse. Their domestication was major with agriculture, so being able to plow fields, move food from region to region, globalization. A lot of these things really kind of started at the foundation of working with a horse. And many people are deeply connected to the symbolism of a horse. Most people, I would say, have some type of an appeal or fascination with horses, even if it's really minor, right? Like we all just kind of have this deep sense of working with horses because I think it's somewhat in our evolution as well, because we've been working with them in some way or another for many, many years. And it's really only the last 100 or so years with engines that we've moved away from, just having a horse like in our yard or, moving throughout town. Even if you lived in a city kind of environment and you didn't own a horse, you probably got on a chariot or something. So it's really relevant, relatively new in our society to not really just be around horses all the time. So riding horses, I am an equestrian. I've ridden since I was a young child and actually was a professional trainer for many years. And now I'm just, do it for pleasure. But a lot of people talk about riding a horse being like flying, and I think that is so, so true. I actually think that horses are a major part of how I even got into witchcraft. And when you're working with the horse through more advanced riding, like I talked about before with the breath, you really synchronize your breath and you also synchronize your movement. So when you're riding, you are breathing with the horse, you're moving with the horse. If I want the horse to move its shoulder to the left, I just bring my shoulder out to the left and they will move into that space. And this isn't really through like training or anything. It's just natural gravity and balance. And you and the horse end up moving exactly together. It's really beautiful. It's a really amazing feeling. And I think it's very tied specifically to ecstatic witchcraft. And just this feeling that you get. So a lot of poets, all kinds of people talk about, that it's like a flying feeling, and they really become an extension of your body. So I think that is a really cool feeling to have. There's nothing else like it that I've ever experienced, where you have an animal, this own living, breathing animal that has its own free will, its own independence, and the two of you sync up and partner together through your breath, your body, arguably their brain as well. And yeah, just having this like connection together. Let's see, I had a few quotes written down here. So when you master the art of the posture within the horse, then you're learning how to trust and move with them. Their physicality is, especially the modern sport horse, it has been really bred in a way to carry weight on its back, unlike maybe a more early type of horse. So their body feels better when it has the weight on its back and moves with you, and vice versa. So that's my personal belief of working with horses. If you're doing it right, then you actually are kind of like a horse physical therapist. You're doing the energy work, you're helping them through pieces of their body that are stuck, and vice versa. And that's what I think they really love about working with people. And yeah, it's a really beautiful art as being able to build that partnership with the horse. Hi, Carol. Glad you can pop in for a bit. And Kelly mentioned, depending on how graceful the horse is, sometimes it's like flying with turbulence. Yeah, I can definitely see that. If there's not yeah, like I guess this will just be my pretentious horse girl, but if it's not jiving well, you know, there's these movements, like there's something that's not flowing correctly. It's not the way it's intended to be. But when it's flowing correctly, then you do get that feeling. But if there's resistance or friction, those are things that you really don't want to have when you're training. Yeah, so to me, that is a very magical feeling. I've definitely never experienced this level of like ecstatic trance-like state with anything else, with witchcraft, yoga, other sports, drugs even. Like I've never experienced what I experienced with a horse when you're really at that peak. You've worked together and you've literally kind of molded your bodies together to be able to perform athletically. So the very nature of riding horses kind of puts you in this weird place between life and death. You have the highest highs and the lowest lows. You're basically at risk of death anytime you're riding a horse. They statistically are one of the most dangerous sports, most dangerous activities that you can do. And actually emotionally too. You go through a lot of effort to make these things happen, bring things together. Of course, some people have, you know, extreme wealth, but your average horse owner probably does not have extreme wealth and is putting a lot of their budget into this kind of stuff as well. So there's just this really big emotional and financial and life choices that you're making in order to do this kind of thing. So on top of just the physical risk that you're having, and it gives you these really huge highs and lows within this type of sport, within working with this kind of animal. And it can come crashing down very quickly if the horse is injured or, you know, is sick or something like that. And if you're doing the competition side, it kind of pushes this all to the extreme. So from my experience, my personal experience, I do think that a lot of people are drawn to, or maybe through horses, like find different aspects of a magical path or some type of spirituality, just kind of by the nature of like all these things coming together. I know for myself, I really started working with Rhiannon to try to be like, how can I get what I need financially to make this work for my horse? There's definitely been times where, you know, I am struggling for myself and I'm like, I got to pay this huge bill and be able to make it happen for my horse. And so I've turned to like money spells and working with that, like in that sense. And so that was a big part of me personally moving into various witchcraft to actually make it happen for my horse specifically. I know I'm not alone in that. There's a lot of people that find this. There's like a whole horse witches group on Facebook and various places. There's a lot of correlation within various spiritual communities and horses. All right, where did I go again? I should have done more bullets so I could find where I am supposed to be at. Okay. So there's this kind of weird paradox of extremes in riding with horses. So there's that physical life and death aspect where you can be riding along, the horse spooks in a moment and you can come crashing down. I've seen some very scary things. I have experienced some of them myself, and you really build a lot of resilience to be able to deal with this, and probably some trauma as well. So you get the physical trauma, you get the emotional, the financial, like all the things. But within that, you know, you're kind of having to find your own path and make things work in its own right. And so that can make you stronger just by navigating that type of connection. So riding a horse, you'll feel the contact of the horse's hooves on the earth, and that jolts up through your bones and body. And this rhythm releases you from gravity as you sense the pulse of life and death. Now, these are not my words. They're actually out of a book, but I thought those were really beautiful. And it really helps you feel and experience the great gift of earth and her mystery all at once. you'll move into a trance-like state that takes you away from time. And I think this description is so perfect when I think about various ecstatic witchcraft or shamanism. That's definitely a major part of my craft, is the ecstatic side, trance work, meditation, and just really feeling and embodying my craft. So when you're working with horses, you can't really fear for the future a whole lot because you really have to live in the moment. And you also can't doubt yourself too much because you have to just really have the ability to shape what's happening in the moment, whatever gets thrown at you. And you really strengthen that skill as you work with horses, especially like a young, unpredictable horse. And you learn how to manipulate your own destiny just by working with this animal. The equine guide calls for nothing beyond your own will in whatever happens in the moment. So I also practice hedgecraft. I would say, like, as my core, I'm a hedge witch. And working with the horses has been a major part of this for me. So kind of the same thing with the ecstatic side, you know, riding the hedge. I see it as a both literal and a figurative thing. So if I'm riding a horse on a trail, I'm often going through a path that, you know, maybe has hedges or a roadway or a trail, and it has like various hedges that you go through. And that's very much like how they would describe it in England, where they have the hedgerow roads. A lot of trails around here are like that. So you kind of have that physical experience. And then spiritually, as you're working with the horse, you're letting them kind of navigate. You can relax, you can breathe, you can meditate while you're on the horse as well. So you kind of get that aspect of both. I really love to ride with headphones on. I'm listening to like various music, and I do go into a kind of trance state a lot of times when I'm riding, just really working and feeling the horse. If it's a trail we're on all the time, I don't need to think about where I'm going. I don't really need to worry about any of that. The horse knows the trail, and just kind of let them do their thing and go along for the ride. So that is a really big part of my craft and very connected with the hedge witch path. So we're gonna do a couple, or I guess first, are there any questions about the info? And then we'll go into a couple of exercises. Okay. Jenny, welcome. She said she's been watching since the beginning, but her comments wouldn't post. No worries. I know I've experienced that myself with the comments. We do try to make sure you have at least 5 comments if you're watching, whether on the replay or live. So please make sure you get your 5 comments in there. Even if it's after the fact, that's totally fine. Jenny, oh, I love that you rode as well. That's very cool. Your horse, high socks. How cute. Yeah, and so you can work with the horse. I know I talked a lot about my personal experience in riding. That is by no way the only way that you need to work with them. You can work with them metaphorically, just like you would any type of animal. Like, let's say you know, a jaguar is your spirit animal. You probably don't have one or have access to one. But horses are pretty accessible for most people, whether you're actually riding or not. There's lots of ways you can volunteer. There's, I would say, most areas have different types of horse rescues or, therapy centers, and you can go and care for them, work with them. There are some public stables. You could go to a horse show and just watch and be around them. There's lots of ways that you can get access to horses, but you can also just work with them energetically and with their meaning. So by no means do you need to own a horse or go and learn to ride or anything like that. So lots and lots of options out there. All right. So I am going to try and change my camera, or first let me maybe show you some book recommendations that I have. Okay. So this one is a great book if you really want to work with horses magically. So it's called Horse Magic, and it is by Lauren Leo with Dominic Leo. I don't know if that's the right way or not, but this is the book. This is a great book. It goes through Tons of different spells, different rituals, kind of has a little bit for everything. So if you're really serious about working with horses spiritually and magically, this is a great way. They kind of have, again, not sure if you can read this, but you can always take a screenshot and then do like a mirror flip. And it goes through like different horses through mythology and history and things like that. And it has like a spell or a ritual for each of those. So you don't need to have any horse experience or horse access or anything like that for any of the rituals in here. So really cool. And then if you do work with actual horses, these are some somewhat witchy books that I think would be really great. This one is called What Horses Say, and it is written by Anna Clements Muse and Julie Dicker. And this is a collection of different horse stories and how we've learned from their language and things that they've taught us. So it's different recollections. Really beautiful book. It's been a long time since I've read it, but it really is one that has stood out to me through a long time. This one is called Reading the Horse's Mind, and this is by Jackie Budd. So this one is geared for people who ride and work with horses or train horses, but it is through the horse's thinking and perspective, their emotional well-being. These are, I would say, probably dated. There's a lot more research that has come out, but when did I get this book? Let me see when this was written, actually. There's been, within the last couple of years, like a lot of study on the horse's intelligence that has changed. They're finding they're like a lot more intelligent than they once thought. So this was written in 1996. I probably read it in the early 2000s. But yeah, just it is dated, but I think this is another really great book if you're really wanting to understand more of the horse's mind. And then there's also just like tons of energy work connected with horses. This one goes through a lot of like Reiki and various energy styles. I think that is like another really big crossover between horses and witchcraft is the energy work. The horse doesn't lie. So as you're working with them, then, it just doesn't, like, they're going to react or not. They're not going to have the mental thing of like, oh, how does this feel? Or like, am I imagining it or something? So you actually see if it works or not with an animal. Jenny asked, let's see, she's got a couple questions. So her autistic son one day ran down our family pasture to hide, and our family herd protected him in a giant circle until we found him. That's a beautiful story, and I have definitely heard a lot of stories like that. They're amazing with children. They know that that's their family. They take care of them just like they would if it was a foal in the herd. And I know like the Egyptian Arabians that the Arabian horses they would have out in Egypt. And the Arab world, they would bring even the stallions like into the tents when they traveled as partially for protectors, and they would put them in with children specifically. So that is a very ancient thing that they have been doing with their horses for a long time. So very natural in the modern day horse. The Arabian is the founding of every breed. And is there any way you can post the titles and authors? Yeah, I can take a picture of the books and put them in the chat after. So be on the lookout for that. Okay, so I'm gonna try to turn my camera around at another stand. So bear with me. I'm sure it's gonna be real shaky for a second here. I gotta turn. Okay, there we go. So I created this little altar, and I'm gonna try to stick this in here. And oh, I didn't think about it's getting dark here, so the lighting is now all really wonky. Okay, sorry for that glare. I hope that's not too awful. Okay, it is what it is. So a couple things I wanted to show you on this altar space. Well, first let me light this candle. just about like the horse in general. And it's kind of my hope that you could scry through here. I'm not sure. I can zoom in. How is the, maybe I can zoom in and then move it around. So hopefully the lighting isn't like too awful. So a few things I made, these aren't really, I don't have like a horse altar, but I guess if I did, this is what it would look like. I pulled a few different things out. So I do put some of these things on my altar occasionally, but I don't have like a dedicated horse altar. I have a very small area that I work with Rhiannon, and when I've had my like horses at a stable or something, I would often have like a mini altar like in my locker or where I keep my tack, so that I could work with the horses like in that kind of space. Okay, thank you, Kelly. I'm glad the visual isn't too bad. So these are some different ideas and things that you can use if you are really wanting to work with horses. So like Breyer horses are great. This one was actually my mom's. So it's a really old one, really special to me because it was my mom's, and I played with it and somehow didn't break this one. I broke a lot of them, but I didn't break this one, so it survived. I have some jade horses. I really love working with the jade specifically with horses. You know, horse art. I have the plate there, and then a drawing from an artist I really love. These are the Arabian horses. And actually, I think this is, I can't tell if that might be like the Godolphin Arabian. I can't remember. But it's probably some famous horse, you know, why it's on this plate. Or maybe a Morgan, kind of looks like a Morgan, but it could be the Godolphin Arabian. Some other things that, you know, you can work with, you know, chariots were really big with horses as well. So I have this one. This is out of a animal oracle deck. And of course the tarot, I mean, there's so many horse cards in the tarot. These are brass bridle or harness tags. You can find them a lot on like different antique shops and things. And they're really cool to work with. They're often found in Europe and England, and they fall off of like the carriages and stuff. And so they just kind of find them out there. But there's lots of these. You can find it with all kinds of symbols and stuff. And they're a really cool way to work with horses. Of course, a horseshoe. This one is off my horse Titan. And then I do have like this tail that was off of my horse Knight, who's passed. Well, all these horses have passed. This one is off of, I think that is from Titan as well. And then my horse Knight. So those are theirs. This bracelet was from my horse that I had when I was in high school. Her name was Tess, and she was a Irish thoroughbred. That was her race name. And then for like candles and things like that, I actually really do like to use apple scented candles, and I only had a pear one. But anyway, that's what I got for today. So I am going to try to zoom in a little, move this thing, so that it can just be a little bit more visually appealing if you want to like watch this or use the ball to like kind of scry on. I don't know if the angle's right for that. It doesn't seem great, but you can close your eyes too. And we're gonna do a little bit of a guided meditation to meet a horse guide. So I'd love for you to experience. And all right, so we're gonna start off to journey and meet our horse guide. So we'll start with some breath work, and we'll start off with box breathing. If you haven't heard of box breathing, you'll breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, breathe out for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and then breathe in. So we'll just do 1 round of that. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll go through one cycle on your own. All right, so as you're finishing your breath work, close your eyes, envision a horse. What is this horse doing? Is it running? Is it standing? Is it grazing? Playing with friends? What is your horse doing? Are you riding this horse, or are you watching it from a distance? What color is your horse? Does it have any markings on its face, on its legs, on its body? What does your horse's personality seem like? Is it wanting to interact with you? If so, what is that interaction like? Can you feel anything in your body? Do you have any sensations, or do you feel anything with your hands? What do you hear? What do you smell? Can you taste anything? Sit with your horse for a minute and think about a message that your horse has for you. Is there anything that you want to say to your horse? So we're going to start coming back from this really quick guided meditation. So take a couple of deep breaths. And then open your eyes. So I hope that small exercise helped you be able to really visualize a horse and maybe get some more insight from that. And that's something that you can, of course, do on your own, or seek out a longer type of meditation online or something to connect with a horse guide. But I would love to hear for those that are watching and also on the replay, what did you see? Did you see a horse? What was that experience like? Do you want to describe maybe what your horse looked like or what it was doing? Any messages that you may have gotten or that you wanted to share, or any sensations that you've had? I would love to hear and talk about like what your potential horse spirit guide would look like. So as you're writing those things out, there are like other associations that you can do depending on what color horse that you saw. There's color magic associated with horses, and it really does kind of follow, you know, the generic color magic types of colors and things, but we of course have, you know, black and white, various shades of gray, chestnut, red, you know, there's bays where they're brown, dark brown, lighter brown with black hair, even like a, you know, grays that have a blue tint to it, a lighter tan, palomino with white hair and a orangey gold body. So all of these have various color associations aligned to them as well. The markings can have meanings too, so they can have like a star on their forehead or a snip. They can have different whorls, they could have different body patterns, right? Like maybe they're a pinto, where they have multicolors through their whole body, an Appaloosa with the spots on their butt. So all different types of meanings and things that can go along with that. So I'll let you kind of explore that for yourself if that's something that you want to do. But firstly, I would think about, what does the color mean to you? What does the marking mean to you? I think most of us have at least a basic sense of the color magic, right? So just the most basic correspondences, thinking about, what those could mean. But they go so far down, and you can use tarot as a guide. I don't know how many horses there are in the tarot, but probably 15 or so. There's all different colors in there. Those colors have meaning within the tarot. There's tons of examples in art history and mythology and all kinds of things with the horse colors. And so definitely some color magic you can dive into there. All right, so we're gonna do a fun little ritual, and this is to connect to the ecstatic nature of the horse, the freedom in the movement, the breath, and the rhythm. So I really encourage you to participate in this. I dropped the verbiage into the event chat, and I'm going to be using a drum. So you can drum on your leg, you can drum on a table. If you have a drum, you can go grab it, whatever you want to do. But this is really to help you connect to the ecstatic nature of the horse. And this ritual was in this horse magic book in here as well. And actually, I'm going to put my dogs outside because I can already tell they're going to start barking. Come on, let's go. Okay, they were very chaotic, so I don't think we need them jumping around and helping with the ritual. All right, so we got a couple comments about the meditation. So Kelly saw a pretty chestnut Appaloosa, calm, grazing, definitely a sense of grounding from the earthy tones. I just kept thinking breathe, which was good because I was holding my breath, and I do that a lot. That is so beautiful. I love all of that. I also hold my breath, especially when I'm stressed, and that's a beautiful reminder and message, and also sounds like a very beautiful horse that you saw. So Jenny mentioned the meditation that she saw our family herd running down the pasture while there was a heavy lightning storm. Oh, interesting. And I love that these are horses that you know and you've worked with and you connect with. My horse was born during the storm, so she was all honey colored and black with a black sock on one hoof, and the other hoof was white, and she had a lightning bolt on her forehead. Oh, that is so cool. And she sent me a message telling me to follow my dream of helping at-risk children. Wow, that is very beautiful and profound, and what a cool experience. Thank you so much for sharing those with me. And for those on the replay, definitely drop down what you saw as well. I would love to keep watching those. All right, so this is pretty easy. So I'm going to be chanting, and I'll just read it for the first time. But I'll chant and I'll use a drum, and I'm hoping that the microphone on my phone picks this up okay. I tried doing like a meditation in the past with like chimes and stuff, and the phone microphone is not great. So just bear with me. I just have a drum, so hopefully it will just have a drum beat and not get really tinny or weird, but we'll go with it. And then in the event chat, these do have the words, but I'll say it a few times, and you can pick it up. But the words are: mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare, jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. So don't worry about having to memorize it. I'm going to go through it probably like 10 times. And so as you can, just start speaking it out loud and, drum to the beat and things as well. And the idea of this is to really connect with that freedom aspect of the horse, where your mind lets go. It's only thinking about the rhythm. It's thinking about the movement, right? That you're putting into the chant, that you're putting into the drumming, and kind of like altering your mind in a little bit, where it's calming down, it's thinking about just that beat, like almost like the beat of the horse, right? And you're working with them and you're moving and you're freeing your mind from all these other things because you're just thinking about the rhythm and the chant. So that's the idea. If you've never done any type of like ecstatic witchcraft or anything, it can be hard to develop this. So I just encourage you to keep at it. And if you have done this stuff, it'll probably come very naturally. But you move into what's called like an alpha type of state, where you're sort of like, as you're going to sleep and waking up, you kind of get into that state too, but it helps just with this really calm thing. And you can focus on the candle, like the scrying, you can focus on like this crystal and the candle or whatever, if that kind of helps. Let me see if I can even zoom in a little bit more. Oh, it doesn't want to. These little stands they're so temperamental. Okay, there we go. All right. So I will be drumming and reading this, and we'll go through it around 10 times or so. And I really encourage you to keep at it. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping profoundly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping profoundly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping profoundly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping profoundly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping profoundly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping profoundly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping profoundly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. Mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare. Jumping jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me, bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. All right, so how was that experience for you? Have you done any types of like ecstatic chants before, or ecstatic drumming? And hopefully you could hear good. Yeah, I would just love to hear like any experience that you had with that, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you felt like your brain calmed, what did you feel? All right, I'm gonna bring the camera back to the other stand. Okay, there we go. All right, so for me with that kind of experience, I definitely feel like, if you do this a lot longer, you get a lot more of the effects. But whenever I do stuff like that and I'm chanting and I'm drumming, I definitely feel the beat and it regulates my nervous system. So that's what I really experience, is kind of this reset, this movement, and realignment, I guess. And I also really will feel whatever I was thinking about, it starts to go away or just become kind of like less important in the moment than really trying to feel the beat and, chant the words. And then hopefully the words have meaning and they feel good, so that it's like an empowerment thing that you're saying and hearing yourself say. And if you're in a group, it can be even more powerful because you're hearing everyone's collective voices. Yeah, that's kind of just a quick ecstatic exercise with the horse. I feel like a lot of the properties of the horse really align to that kind of witchcraft, really magical type of feeling, and that movement of doing the drumming, or even if it's just on the table or whatever, really can help. So would love to hear your experience, whether you're watching live or on the replay. Just share kind of what you're feeling. All right. Let's see. Kelly said she's never done that before, but she can feel the trot and regulation in my body. I couldn't remember the words though. I need to practice before to get that down. Yeah, that's totally fine. I don't know if you could really hear super well, but I do have the words posted in the event chat, and I can just read through them again really quickly in case anyone wants to on the replay, pause it or anything. Yeah, knowing the words helps. But sometimes you can kind of pick them up. And this one was a little bit longer than others. I actually do have a hard time memorizing things, and so I like to have the paper in front of me. A lot of people, I feel, can just pick it up really quick. But depending, it doesn't matter if you have them in front of you or not. Let's see, where did I lost my page? So the words are: mane tossed through rushing air, no one around to glance or stare, jumping proudly, hoof to ground, awaken the spirit inside me bound. Gallop fast, take hold of me, let me remember when I was free. So if you want to try doing that exercise on your own, you can, write that down or copy it out of the event chat, and then just go through it yourself. And there's not like a, minimum or maximum number. So you can kind of go with whatever you want, but they say for like a really good ecstatic craft that it does take about 20 minutes. So I didn't want to sit here and do that for 20 minutes, but that's kind of the golden standard of how long you should do it if you want to have the really big effects. So that's just something to think about. But of course, even just a couple minutes, can make a really big difference. And Jenny says that the drumming slowed her heart rate to a relaxing state, because she has a low heart rate already, but it brought over a sense of peace. Oh, I'm really glad. Yeah, so that's a perfect comment, just to kind of be able to, show that even just a few minutes of that can really reset your nervous system. And of course, you don't have to work with Horse Guide to do this. I think that the Horse Spirit Guide aligns very well to this type of practice. I think it's like the first or second ritual in this book too. But you can really do that with anything, any type of like chant or phrase, or even just a, you know, sound. And it's really common with like, you know, like different Eastern groups as well, right? Like Eastern practices like Buddhism. I'm not as familiar with all these ones, but they have like their chants that they say a lot in the beat. And it's kind of the same idea. So it really resets your body and stuff. So cool. Well, that is all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed the live. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. And for those on the replay as well, I will keep an eye on the comments and respond when I can. But thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.